Greetings, Stash Wyslouch here. Welcome to quick tip number 54. Today's quick tip, I want to discuss criteria for answering the question, do I really know a fiddle tune? I boiled down the criteria in this case to 3 different things. Can I play the fiddle tune in different positions? Can I play it in different keys? And lastly, can I play it in a skeletalized, distilled version where I don't necessarily play all the eighth notes, but I still get the essence of the tune? My criteria is going to be different from another musician's criteria. It all depends on the context in which you're playing fiddle tunes. The context I generally encounter fiddle tunes is in a bluegrass context where musicians are expected to take solos over the form of the tune, their own interpretation of the said melody in question at that moment in time. And it's from this context that I developed this criteria for myself when learning and trying to master a tune. Before we go any further, I just want to mention I am accepting students online right now doing Zoom lessons, and I'd love to work with you. Email me at info@stashwyslouch.com to get more information on rates and availability. So let's begin with position awareness. My criteria here is, can I play the said fiddle tune in all the different positions I know on the guitar neck? Why is this good? The context which I'm coming at this from, if I start to improvise and go away from the melody and end up somewhere else on the guitar, I want to always be able to return to the melody wherever I am without having to make any big, drastic, and unnatural jumps. The way to start practicing this is to play it in different positions. I think of 6 different positions if I'm in a major key, for example. I think of the open position, which uses as many open strings as possible, and then 5 different patterns, 5 different zones across the neck. I go very much into depth with this in quick tips number 2 and 3, which are exclusively available to my patrons on Patreon. Consider becoming a patron on Patreon if you're not already. So I might take a tune like Big Sciota, the first part of which goes like this: 1, 2, 3, 4. Cool. I'm satisfied with the way it feels down here in open zone. But now I want to say, if I started improvising up here and I say, well, I want to go back to the melody, I wouldn't just jump down here, maybe I could play it here. Okay, the way I think of my patterns is based on whatever zone I'm in of the guitar, on which string and with which finger would I play the lowest root. So here, for example, if I'm playing a closed position, no open strings, and I'm playing the key of G, I would be playing my pattern 2E, because the lowest G note is played with my second finger on the E string. And I might say, can I play that Big Sciota melody exclusively in this position? Cool. Now I might go to a different position, for example, 4A, where the lowest root is with my 4th finger on the A string, and try and play that exact same phrase, but now in position or pattern 4A. 1, 3, 4. So that could be a month's worth of practice, just fulfilling that one criteria. Can I play the same exact fiddle tune all over the guitar neck? By fulfilling this criteria, you also start running into certain problems. For example, based on whatever position you're in, you might run out of notes. So for example, the fiddle tune, Fiddler's Dream. You start here. If I were to play that in position 4A, I run out of notes there. I can't go anywhere. I could do a position shift, but maybe this could be a good opportunity to figure out how to displace the octave and see where the same melody lies in a different octave in that new position. So instead of starting here, I might start it right here. Instead of... The next criteria I might use, can I play the fiddle tune in a different key? Now this criteria complements the first criteria quite nicely. What do I mean by that? Well, let's say Big Sciota. Before I was playing it here. Now if I say I'm going to be in the same zone, but instead of playing in the key of G, I'm going to play in the key of B, I end up playing it with a new finger pattern, which I would call 2A because the lowest root is played with my second finger on the A string. Now this complements the first criteria because that pattern 2A, if I were to play it in all positions in the key of G, I'd end up using that exact same finger pattern up here. So over the course of a month, I might alternate between playing the tune in the key it's normally played in different positions across the neck, our first criteria, and then playing the tune in a couple of distantly related keys. For example, if I'm in the key of G, maybe I'll learn the tune also in the key of B and E flat. These two approaches will complement each other heavily, and you'll have a much deeper understanding of the fiddle tune that maybe you're trying to improvise on. I address a strategy for playing in different keys very specifically and in depth in my quick tip number 46. The last criteria I want to talk about in this quick tip is having a good understanding of the skeletal form of the tune. If I distill the tune and take out most of the upbeats, playing big sciota, for example, exclusively with quarter notes, exclusively with half notes, then I start to really feel like I maybe know the tune. What do I like about this approach? Well, there's a few things. First off, it lets me play at extremely high speeds if I can't quite execute eighth notes at those speeds. So I can still zoom out and play some sort of melodies that pertain to the melody that's being played without feeling limited by the fact that I can't execute the tune playing the usual eighth notes that would be prescribed to it. The very first quick tip I ever did, quick tip number 1, goes very much in depth into this method. So big sciota, I might boil down to just playing it with quarter notes like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. As opposed to just by virtue of slowing down the process of internalizing a fiddle tune and, for example, skeletalizing it, I start to understand the raw ingredients, the building blocks that make the fiddle tune tick in the first place. Having that kind of knowledge on a deep musical level gives me so much more freedom when I want to, for example, veer away from that and improvise on the melody. So to summarize, 3 criteria. Position awareness. Can I play the fiddle tune in many different positions all across the guitar neck? Different keys. The second criteria. Can I play the same fiddle tune in a few different keys, distantly related? And lastly, having a good skeletal form awareness of the tune. Can I boil down the melody into just quarter notes, into just half notes even, to have these really nice fence posts to latch onto when I start going far away from the melody, but I will then want to bring it back? The honest answer to the question, do I really know a fiddle tune or any piece of music, with me is always no. And I say that in a very positive way. Why? That means that there's always more to learn from a tune. There's always more to learn from music. And instead of being defeated by something like this, I find it very enriching and exciting to know there will always be more to find out in all that music we know and love. Or should I say, all that music we don't know and love. Thanks so much for tuning in to Quick Tips. For my patrons on Patreon, I put a few tabs of big sciota in a couple of different positions, in a couple of different keys, just to give you an idea of some of the position awareness stuff that I might practice and how it would actually lay out on the guitar. Make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel, and we'll see you in 2 weeks if you're a patron.